Thanks, Joseph. And Eleanor, can you advance to the next slide, please? Okay, good morning. I'm Heather Iwamuro with the Business and Community Outreach Team in the External Affairs Division at the CPUC. Welcome to today's webinar where we'll explore pathways to engaging with the Commission. I'm joined by my colleagues, Hope Chrisman, Nora Gutierrez, and Maria Kelly, and we'll be moderating today's webinar. Next slide, please. The closed captioning function can be turned on by selecting the icon that's located in the bottom left corner of your screen. Next slide, please. And again, please feel free to enter your questions at any time during the presentations. Next slide, please. Okay, so before we begin the presentations, I want to provide a brief overview of the California Public Utilities Commission, often referred to as the CPUC, and I'll also refer to it as the Commission in my remarks. The Commission regulates investor-owned electric, natural gas, telecommunications, water, rail crossings and rail transit, and passenger transportation companies, in addition to authorizing video franchises. The links provided in this slide offer more detailed information about our mission, commissioners, history and organizational structure, and other helpful information about the CPUC. Next slide, please. I also want to provide a quick overview of the local government and community outreach team that organized today's webinar. Our team of local government liaisons serve as a resource and point of contact on CPUC-related issues for the 58 counties, 482 cities, and hundreds of community-based organizations across California. The team also conducts outreach activities to advance CPUC policies and programs, and part of our outreach includes informational webinars to educate, inform, and to engage our community partners in the Commission's decision-making. Next slide, please. The team's led by Stephanie Green, and this slide provides our contact information and the link to the team's webpage. Each of the liaisons has an industry focus and manages a geographic territory. If you don't know who your liaison is, please feel free to reach out to any one of us and we'll get you connected. Next slide, please. So today's webinar is in response to comments we've received from some of our community partners about their reluctance or lack of resources to participate in the Commission's decision-making. Some might feel the CPUC is too big to influence, or don't understand, or may be intimidated by how the Commission forms decisions or the technical aspects of CPUC oversight. We hear your concerns. And so our goal today is to demystify and simplify the Commission's decision-making process and provide practical information along with tools and resources to help you gain a better understanding of how the Commission forms decisions to make your participation and engagement achievable. I'll start with a review of the regulatory process, CPUC proceedings, and ways you can participate in these proceedings. I'll also share some helpful resources and show you how to stay informed on CPUC meetings and events. Then I'll hand the virtual mic over to Casey Daly from the Western Riverside Council of Governments, who'll provide a brief overview of WRCOG, and we'll explore his approach to engaging with the Commission and get his perspective on best practices and lessons learned. After our discussion, we'll have a Q&A. We ask that your questions be related to today's topic of engagement, and we're happy to help you with any other questions and concerns after today's webinar. Next slide, please. So I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, are familiar with the I'm Just a Bill episode from the Schoolhouse Rock series. If you're not familiar with it, it's an animated short story about how a bill becomes a law as it passes through both houses of Congress. As a regulatory agency, the CPUC uses the regulatory process, which is a very similar approach. And rather than a bill, the Commission uses proceedings to address various topics such as a utility rate increase request or to establish new service or update safety standards. Once a proceeding is initiated by either the Commission or an outside party, it's given a unique number such as R24-06-012 to help everyone involved, including the public, track all the documents and actions related to the proceeding. An administrative law judge, or ALJ, is assigned to manage the proceeding, and what follows is a sequence of steps that may include a pre-hearing conference, evidentiary hearings, workshops, and public participation hearings to define the purpose and goals of the proceeding, receive testimony, gather data, and provide opportunities for public input. The information collected is reviewed, analyzed, and after careful consideration, the ALJ will issue a proposed decision, and the public is given 30 days to review and comment. And here's a pro tip. You don't have to wait for the proposed decision. In fact, it's better to comment early in the process to ensure your comment is considered as part of shaping the proposed decision. And then finally, the commissioners vote on the proposed decision or an alternate proposed decision filed by one of the commissioners. Now, it may not sound like it, but this is a simplified and condensed version of the process, and the Commission welcomes interested parties and the public to comment at any point along this journey. Public input is critical to ensure decisions are well-informed and provide balanced solutions to the complex regulatory issues that come before the Commission. Next slide, please. So why should you engage with the Commission? How does it benefit your community? CPUC decisions affect the lives of every Californian every day. The Commission makes decisions on energy rates, wildfire mitigation, rail crossings, broadband access, where infrastructure is built, just to name a few. So let's take a look at the Kohler proceeding as an example to explain what engagement with the CPUC might look like. If you're not familiar with Kohler, it's short for Carrier of Last Resort, and it's a set of rules the Commission put in place decades ago to ensure every Californian has access to basic telephone service. The Kohler proceeding was open to make sure these rules still make sense in today's world, and one of the updates being considered is when and how Kohler providers would be allowed to stop providing basic service. And this has generated a lot of public interest. Residents want to know, how will they communicate with friends and family? How will they make calls if they don't have cell service at their homes? Local governments want to know the potential impact on public safety and emergency communications. And we've also heard from small businesses that are concerned about service continuity and the ability to complete business transactions. Questions and concerns like these are what ignite engagement, and the Commission wants to hear from you. When individuals, local governments, small businesses, or any business, and community groups provide comments that are grounded in facts and firsthand experiences, they add valuable and meaningful contributions to the Commission's decision-making. Next slide, please. Commissioners and ALJs have relied on public comments to adjust the scope of proceedings, open new investigations, and frame decisions. If there's one key message to take from today's webinar, it's that your voice matters. The Commission wants to hear from you, and there are many opportunities to weigh in. You and your organization might find listening to a voting meeting and adding a comment to a proceedings docket card works best. Others might take it a step further and send a detailed letter to the Commission that might include technical data or provide oral comments at a voting meeting or at a workshop. Still others might want to be even more directly involved and may choose to become a party to a proceeding, which I'll discuss in a later slide. Your level of engagement is completely up to you. If you can't attend a meeting in person, a webcast or call-in option is almost always provided. The Commission provides a telephone line for English speakers and a line for Spanish speakers. The links included in this slide provide detailed information on CPUC processes, including how to be added to the speakers queue at a voting meeting, and the process is very similar for other CPUC meetings. Speakers typically have 1 to 3 minutes to speak, depending on the number of speakers in the queue. If your comments extend beyond the time allotted, or you simply prefer to submit your comments in writing, the Commission provides several ways to do this. Next slide, please. You can submit your comment online. If you don't already know the proceeding number, you can go to the Proceeding Information webpage to locate a specific proceeding and add a comment by selecting the Add Public Comment tab. You can send your comments by email to the Public Advisor's Office. Please include the proceeding number or the subject matter on the subject line. And you can mail your comment to the CPUC, which is headquartered in San Francisco. I'd like to take a moment to highlight the Commission's Public Advisor's Office because it's a great resource. The Public Advisor's webpage contains resources and tools on how to provide public comments, how to track a proceeding, CPUC brochures and fact sheets, language interpretation and translation services, and much more. Next slide, please. This slide provides an image of a docket card once you've entered the proceeding number into the search bar or used the proceeding information tool. The Documents tab will generate a list of all the documents submitted by parties to the proceeding, including the ALJ's rulings and decisions. The Add Public Comment tab is outlined in red. This tab will allow you to enter your comment and read all the other public comments that have been submitted. If you'd like to monitor a proceeding, select the subscribe button to receive email notifications on updates to the proceeding. Next slide, please. This slide is an image once you've selected the Add Public Comment tab. Oops, I think we jumped ahead. Can we go back one, Eleanor? There we go. Thank you. This slide is an image once you selected the Add Public Comment tab. Public comments are read by CPUC decision makers, staff, and others, and become part of the record used to shape decisions. Remember, you're adding a comment to a public document, so we suggest not including personal information such as your home address or a utility account number. Next slide, please. So I've highlighted several CPUC meetings and events that include a public comment period and reviewed several ways on how to submit comments. But you might be asking yourself, how do I find these meetings? How do I stay informed? There are several ways to do this. The CPUC homepage provides up-to-date information on Commission activities, as well as important information on consumer resources. Another resource is the CPUC Daily Calendar, which can be accessed from the CPUC homepage under the Selected Upcoming Meetings and Events section. Select the Daily Calendar tab to generate a list of upcoming CPUC meetings, hearings, workshops, and other events. And regional newsletters are another great resource. The local government and community liaisons distribute monthly newsletters that contain information on meetings, events, and policy updates, as well as a list of key rulemakings. Please contact us to let us know if you'd like to be added to our distribution list. Next slide, please. Now, some of you in the audience may be interested in becoming a party to a proceeding. A party is any person or organization that is formally and directly involved in a proceeding, and it's the most effective way to influence decisions. Party status is not reserved for utilities, attorneys, or large corporations. In fact, individuals, community groups, small businesses, government agencies, and others may request party status, which comes with rights and responsibilities that go beyond simply monitoring a proceeding. A party can present evidence and witnesses to strengthen its assertions, obtain information from other parties, and must follow rules of practice and procedure to ensure transparency, fairness, and the timely resolution of procedural matters. I'd like to quickly mention the Commission's Intervenor Compensation Program, which is intended to ensure diverse groups across socioeconomic, cultural, and geographic lines have the financial resources to fully participate in CPUC proceedings. If you'd like to learn more, the resources linked in this slide provide additional detailed information. That includes my portion, my presentation. I know I reviewed a lot of information and I didn't have a catchy Schoolhouse Rock jingle, but I hope I provided useful resources and tools and some clarity and helped you gain a better understanding of the Commission and its decision-making. I added a lot of links to my slides for your future reference. And remember, your voice matters and we're here to help. Next slide, please. So I'd like to turn to Casey Daly, the Director of Energy and Environmental Programs with the Western Riverside Council of Governments. Casey has had a good amount of experience in engaging with the Commission, so we thought Casey was a great choice to share his knowledge and expertise. A WRCOG serves the Inland Empire region in Southern California, but we believe regardless of where you live and work, you'll find what Casey has to say very informative. So Casey, I'm handing the virtual mic over to you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Heather. I really appreciate it. And it's an honor and a privilege to be here today to have this conversation. As was mentioned, my name is Casey Daly. I serve as the Director of Energy and Environmental Programs for the Western Riverside Council of Governments. WRCOG is how we're known. We are a joint powers authority. We're celebrating our 35th year anniversary this year. That is comprised of the 18 cities in Western Riverside County. So if you're familiar with the geography, Corona to the west, the windmills to the east, and Temecula to the south. So we have 18 cities in Western Riverside. We've got portions of the unincorporated Riverside County, 2 water districts, as well as the Riverside County Superintendent of Schools. WRCOG runs regional programs that include our TUMF program, which is a regional transportation impact fee. We perform regional climate planning, environmental programs related to compliance reporting and SB 1383 and food recovery and rescue, zero emission vehicle planning and deployment for our cities. We work in energy resilience, clean energy financing, And we also are one of the three-legged stools that administer a regional energy network known as I-REN. Next slide, please. All right, next slide, please. So I-REN is a collaboration of the three councils of government that collectively represent Riverside and San Bernardino County, or the Inland Empire, as we're often known as. 52 cities, 2 counties, 25,000+ square miles, 4.5 million people. So it's a big little, it's a big footprint that we have. And that's where a lot of our engagement with the CPUC comes from. I-REN began in 2019 when the three COGs came together to collaborate with a shared vision to establish locally administered, designed, and delivered energy efficiency programs for the Inland Empire. In February of 2021, I-REN applied for REN portfolio administrator status to offer a portfolio of programs serving the public sector, codes and standards, workforce education and training, with governance through an I-REN executive committee that's made up of elected officials from all three of our COGs. And WRCOG has the pleasure, I should say, of serving as the administrative lead, which puts us in a spot of engaging with the commission on a variety of activities. In November of 2021, I-REN was authorized through decision 21-11-013, which funded I-REN to offer energy efficiency services and programs through the end of 2027. Our mission, as you can see on the screen here, is to build a stronger clean energy economy and community to California's Inland Empire by connecting residents, businesses, and local governments to a wide range of energy efficiency resources. Next slide, please. So the world of the CPUC is large and vast. I think, as you heard in Heather's comments, there are a tremendous number of areas that the commission touches in everybody's lives every day. And so for us, in our narrow view of the world, our focus is around the various energy efficiency proceedings that are taking place. So you can see on the screen here 4 of them. The energy efficiency proceeding is a big one. That's where all of the portfolio and program implementation guidance takes place, along with evaluation, measurement, and verification. As a portfolio administrator, we have an active interest in both the EE proceeding as well as the second one there, the consolidated business plan application. This is where we will provide our application to continue administering the programs in the various sectors that we're authorized in. Additionally, energy efficiency and energy affordability really go hand in hand. And as we look at how the commission determines cost effectiveness is very important for us in our region, as I would expect most of the regions in California have a keen interest in energy affordability, and we see this cost effectiveness and data access proceeding as one that's very relevant to us. Next slide, please. So why engage and why is local government important? I come from the local government world and bring the perspective of on the ground experience. What we see is that statewide policies are often stronger when local governments has an opportunity to shape them. And through the various mechanisms that have been discussed so far today, whether those are public comments, workshops, stakeholder meetings, or even participating as a party to a proceeding. But local government really does have that on the ground knowledge and experience. We are able to, I think, see what is working, where challenges are popping up, and provide that real world feedback. And I think that the commission and the staff particularly appreciate that. Another value that I think local government brings is, in many cases, we have very trusted community relationships. That's one of one of the values that I believe WRCOG brings to this is that we are actively engaging with our cities on a daily basis. And our cities have the trusted relationships into the community, whether those are residents, businesses, or community organizations. And through that trusted relationship status, as well as through a regional organization like WRCOG, it does provide a wonderful opportunity to engage with the commission. And I see as a regional agency, we are often at the forefront of issues that appear to be beyond the reach of local governments, whether that's setting new electricity rates, new transmission projects, the myriad of areas that the commission is involved in. Engaging with the CPUC does allow for collective voices to be heard. So I believe that is the conclusion of my slides, and I look forward to our conversation.
Thank you, Casey. Thanks so much. I'm sure the audience found a lot of value about your firsthand experience. So we'd like to shift the webinar into a more conversational discussion to dig a little deeper and look at CPUC engagement from another perspective. So Casey, I'd like to start with this question. I'm sure you didn't have a vast amount of knowledge when you first began this role. So what was that learning curve like, and what was most helpful to you in getting up to speed?
You're right in that initially it does seem a little bit daunting to try to understand where you can make an entry point into commission activities and decision making. I think for us, it really started when there was the commission had made the decision to remove the pilot status for regional energy networks. And we had at WRCOG been administering a local government partnership for several years, and our member agencies and communities really liked it. And so we were looking for kind of what we were going to do to continue to grow and amplify that. And so when the commission took away the pilot status for regional energy networks and kind of opened the door for new ones to come in, that was the moment for us where we said, okay, let's start to engage, and we began that process by looking at the various scoping memos, and in our case, we applied to be a party to the proceeding, but that's certainly not the only way to engage.
Okay, thank you for that. You mentioned that you are part of a COG. You represent a lot of cities. Not all of them are large cities with a vast amount of resources. So for CBOs and small cities with limited staff, what are some of the easiest and most effective ways to engage with the commission?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think there's some really straightforward ways to do that. One, to begin looking at the issues that are directly affecting their communities, to try to kind of narrow down what proceedings make the most sense. But there's listservs, which is I'm subscribed to a lot of them. And I think that's an easy way to subscribe to the listservs for the relevant proceedings. Is a great way to kind of keep track of what's going on, when the comments are coming in, what the tone and tenor of those comments are, and then ultimately when you get to the proposed decision standpoint. I think also another great way to do it is to attend the workshops and any public stakeholder meetings that the commission has. And even though the commission is based up in San Francisco, they come down to Southern California a lot. And they've even come out to the Inland Empire in the past as well. And anytime that happens, that's always a great opportunity when you're in your backyard to go out and just listen in to what they're talking about. I always learn something whenever I get a chance to participate in commission conversations. I'm a government nerd too, so that helps.
Thanks, Casey. Um, since you're part of a COG that advocates local and regional interests, how do you package your comments and translate that? Translate your local and regional priorities into your comments.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the for us, it's really I communicate this to my elected officials and other colleagues is that working with the CPUC and engaging with them is really kind of like having a seat at a table that you didn't know existed. And so we use that seat at the table to really try to communicate the issues that we're being faced with. And so the way that it works for me is having kind of regular and ongoing dialogue with our local governments in the Inland Empire. Issues that pop up, issues that seem to be prevalent or more than one or two of them are facing, are ways for us to kind of take that on the ground experience and then as a regional agency, we're able to package it up in a way that it's reflective of not just a single jurisdiction but multiple jurisdictions. And in my experience is that when you have if one city is telling you it's a problem, then it perhaps could be isolated to that one city. But when 10 of them are telling you it's a problem, then that's an indication that okay, we need to kind of step up here and let the powers that be know what's going on and how we're experiencing those challenges, and then see if there's a way to address them in some capacity.
Okay, that's interesting. Thank you. My next question is in regards to party status. What has that experience been like? And what are the benefits? What are some of the hurdles that maybe an organization should look out for if they decide to request party status?
Sure. Party status as far as I can tell, is kind of the highest level of engagement. You are, you are there, really to have, you have a vested interest in whatever the outcome of that decision is going to be. We, WRCOG, through I-REN, participates in these proceedings really to represent the interest of our local governments. The proceedings themselves establish policies, budgets, and program requirements, metrics, reporting frameworks that directly affect how not only energy efficiency, but other clean energy programs are designed and implemented. And so for us, that's a pretty big deal. When we decide to engage in that party status, we are working with a team that includes oftentimes consultants, attorneys, subject matter experts, and so bringing all of that to bear, because now you're really kind of getting out there and saying, okay, look, this is what's happening. This is how we are experiencing these problems. These are our recommendations for changing it, and then here's the underlying precedent, regulatory framework, whatever it might be. You really kind of got to bring your A game when it comes to being a party in a proceeding, and I think that that sometimes can create challenges, because you might frankly face resource constraints or have unfamiliarity with the CPUC processes or expectations. But I think that's where having some people kind of around you that, whether they have regulatory background or legal background, are able to do it. I like to kind of jokingly say, if we can do it, you can do it. It might be complicated, but at the same time, it's definitely doable. And again, that is the kind of the top level of engagement, but there are many other ways to engage with the commission outside of being party to a proceeding.
Okay, I like that. If we can do it, you can do it. Yeah, I like that. So my last question is, it sounds like you find engaging with the commission worthwhile. You find it personally gratifying. What are some of the best practices and lessons learned you can um you can leave with the audience, especially for the small cities and maybe CBOs?
Sure. Well, if and I'll kind of keep it narrow to energy because that's where I have if I have any knowledge or expertise, it's in that little tiny space. Um, I would say that if there are energy matters of energy related to your community or that as a CBO you're dealing with, um, chances are you live in a region that includes a regional energy network at this point. And I think 94% of the state is covered by at least one REN. And that and RENs are really designed to be community focused, administered by local governments. And so my advice would be, find your local friendly REN, and open up some dialogue with them. If you have concerns about how to engage or what the issue might be. Um, I think some of the other kind of points that we talked about earlier, whether that's subscribing to the different listservs, reading the scoping memos when those come out, kind of keeping an eye on different proceedings, and then whenever the commission is in town, if there's a workshop to attend, go ahead and check it out. The for as big as the commission is, the individuals that I've worked with, particularly down here in Southern California, have just been really really great to work with. So I think it might be daunting, but it's more accessible than you might think.
Okay, good advice. Thanks, Casey. Thanks so much um, for chatting with me
My
and
pleasure.
for your presentation. Um, we're going to now give the audience a chance to ask their questions. If you haven't done so already, please enter your questions into the chat and we'll do our best to get to all of them. Hope is going to lead this portion of the webinar, so I'll pass the virtual mic over to Hope.
Good morning, everyone. Casey, excuse me, Casey, thank you for that lovely presentation. We appreciate you joining us here today. So we do have a few questions. Let me first ask that the slide be advanced. One more. Okay, so here's how you would enter your questions in the chat, and then I will be reading off those questions. So we do have a couple questions that have come in. So first of all, we got a question about the I-REN. So Casey, are the I-REN proceedings or minutes available to the public?
So I-REN, the short answer is yes. All of any comments that I-REN makes to the CPUC through any of the proceedings are all publicly available. I-REN is our executive committee meets. All of those meet their Brown Act meetings. All of those meetings are, we have minutes and all of the data and reports that go from there. Our website, iren.gov, also has a list of regulatory filings that we have made over the years. So I think everything that we do is available in some capacity or another publicly.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. And I know that you had your website listed on your slides, and we've also dropped it in the chat because that was another question on what your website was. So in addition, we have a question for you, Casey, wanting to know if you're the only representative of the I-REN or is there a board? How does your agency function?
Absolutely. So our at the core, I-REN is a equal partnership between WRCOG, which is the Western Riverside Council of Governments, that's who I work for, the Coachella Valley Associated Governments, and the San Bernardino Council of Governments. So our three organizations collectively make up the Inland Regional Energy Network. WRCOG is the administrative lead, so we have the privilege and fortune of doing all of the contracting and procurement and regulatory filings and all of the fun stuff that comes along with having to administer a portfolio. We are governed intentionally through a charter, a governance document that we created once we were approved as a portfolio administrator. We have created an I-REN executive committee, which is comprised of members of each of the three councils of government. So we have multiple elected officials from each COG that serve as our kind of oversight and governing board to help us guide in policy recommendation, policy decisions, programmatic implementation. And they are really kind of the first line of when things are happening at the commission, we use that venue to communicate. Here are the different things that are happening, and we get their feedback and direction on kind of what policies that they would like us to comment on, or what they're hearing from their own communities. So it creates a kind of a direct channel for us, but that is how we are governed through I-REN.
Great, thank you for that. Okay, moving on, we've got a question that's more generic, so Casey or the CPUC can respond to this one. And this is very simple, and it's, if I submit my comments online, how do I know that they were actually submitted? Heather, Maria?
Maybe somebody from the commission can answer that one. Well, I'll just say from my experience, you get a note that says your comments have been received and filed. Or sometimes if you put a wrong number in, they'll come back and say, these are really for more party proceedings.
I was just gonna say a similar comment, Casey. Once you submit your comment through the docket, you'll receive a confirmation. And when decision makers, staff, the ALJ, commissioners, as they try to shape decisions, how they're going to vote, they do go through the comments.
I was going to add too that sometimes just in the general comments, you can always go back and find your comments as well. So you can see that they're published and you can read everybody else's comments. And sometimes that's really helpful to see who else is commenting and what the other comments are related to. Great.
And another question kind of leading off of that one is, when there's thousands of comments coming in from citizens, how do these get reviewed by the CPUC, especially if it sounds, is there like a checklist that they go through, or is there some other way that the CPUC is looking at all these comments?
I can take that one. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Our public advisor's office tracks and summarizes those and provides those to our leadership. I know the commissioners see all the comments that are received, and they're summarized if they come in groups or in topics. So they are absolutely accounted for, acknowledged, and documented.
Thank you for the answer on that one, Stephanie. How about, do I need to register or complete any training before participating in a CPUC proceeding?
No, you don't have to complete any training. Training is ongoing. part of the decision making. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to the Public Advisor's Office or your liaison.
Thank you. I do want to state that the questions that we're responding to in today's webinar are strictly related to the process of being involved at the CPUC. We cannot speak to any specific proceedings that may be or will be in front of the CPUC. So I know that there's a lot of questions in the chat related to a specific issue, but unfortunately, we will not be addressing that in today's webinar. So I'm just letting you know that's why your questions are not being read. So back to process-related questions. There was a question on maybe a little more detail on how to become a party to a proceeding.
I can help with that one. I mean, it's more than what we could just probably answer right this morning, but there is some great background. We dropped some links in the chat regarding sort of the general part of the proceeding, but also the practitioner guide. And then there's some links there to either you can reach out to one of us, your community liaison, or the public advisor's office. And there's to help you understand sort of what that exact process is and what template you would need and how you would need to file it. So happy to discuss further. We didn't necessarily put the slides together to track through that. That's almost a whole separate conversation, but there is some great resources that we do have that we dropped into chat. If you didn't see it, ask us again. We'll drop it in again. A party to it. I just saw a question. Party to a proceeding is when we actually have a rulemaking or an application, and you actually want to become notified of every single step, and anytime something is filed and you want to have an opportunity to respond within the proceeding rulemaking format, that would be why you would become a party to a proceeding. So for example, building decarbonization is an active rulemaking. It's a decision that's underway, but you want to be on that service list so that anytime somebody makes a comment that you also then would be on that service list. So identifying what you want to be a party to or what you want to learn more about. There was a question and we can drop the link in. And how do you search and find out what proceedings are active right now within the CPUC? And we'll try to drop some links so you can learn how to search that.
Thank you, Maria. Appreciate that. So there's a question that came in on, somebody wants to know, how do they request additional information from a utility regarding their service charges?
I would contact the utility first directly. If the utility cannot or does not provide that to you, you can contact our Consumer Affairs branch and they can help you with that.
We'll drop a link into the chat for the Consumer Affairs website from the CPUC. Okay, let's see. The next question. Are there any hints on how to search or find proceedings for a specific project on the CPUC site?
I dropped a link, Hope, in the proceedings and rulemaking, and I'm going to do a little bit of, I will answer that question a little bit more. It's going to take me just a minute, but I will drop into chat sort of how you can search that docket card or search for proceedings and rulemaking. Kind of want to figure out your area of interest, whether it's electrification or energy or building decarb or transportation safety or one of the other areas that CPUC has a decision open on or a proceeding that's underway. So finding out what you want to follow, and then I will put a little link in here of how to potentially search that docket card, but just give me just a minute.
Thank you, Maria. Appreciate that. So while we're waiting on that, another question. Yes.
And Hope, I also wanted to suggest contacting the Public Advisor's Office. They can also help you hone down your questions to find the proceeding that you're interested in.
Great. Thank And I know I'm not directing these questions at any one individual, so I appreciate somebody jumping in and answering questions as I'm asking them. So there's a question on the CPUC's voting and whether or not the votes are public or anonymous.
Our voting meetings are recorded, and you can view past voting meetings and listen to how each vote was processed, who voted yes or no, and if you need more information on, I can drop the link to the voting meetings.
So the votes are very public, and they are also made available publicly on our website, so you can watch the web recording of all previous voting meetings, but it's absolutely public.
Thank you. Casey, this might be a good one for you, and that is when you're talking about smaller communities or community-based organizations, do you think that it would be beneficial for them to come together with others when working on a CPUC proceeding rather than going at it alone?
Absolutely. I find that there is always strength in numbers, and that is a way to certainly amplify your voice. It's particularly with like-minded groups that share common interests. So I think it's very helpful. At WRCOG we find that is very beneficial in a variety of things that we do when we're engaging, whether it's with the commission or with the legislature, that having multiple cities kind of coming at it with a unified voice definitely brings a different kind of level of engagement.
Appreciate that. Thank you. All right, another CPUC question, and that is, do commissioners participate at CPUC public hearings? How is the public allowed to engage with them?
Is anybody going to take that one? The commissioners, our commissioners show up at many of our public participation hearings, in fact, most of them. You can also request a direct meeting through their website. It's possible to request meetings with the commissioners, but they do show up at most public participation hearings.
Great, thank you. And then along that line is, what steps does the CPUC take to ensure that the public has a genuine opportunity to participate before the decisions are made? And I know, Heather, you covered a lot of this in the presentation today, but maybe you can just quickly go over that again.
Sure. I'm just going to speak to, we just have about a minute left in the Q&A, but as far as a specific proceeding, you can enter your comment into the proceedings docket card at any point. Of course, it's better to enter your comment early in the process, before the proposed decision is issued by the administrative law judge, but you can add your comments at any point. If you'd like to send a letter to the commissioners, you can also do that too. Those are, you can speak at a workshop, at a proceedings workshop or a public participation hearing. There are several activities that you can do to share your concerns, ask questions, participate.
And Heather, is the public able to provide comments on an issue that is not currently docketed at the CPUC?
Absolutely. You can mail your questions or email your questions and concerns to the Public Advisor's Office. Just be sure to add a subject heading to the subject line to start that engagement process.
Great. And I know we're almost out of time, so let me just ask one more question. There was a technical question on what's the difference between the advanced search form and the regular docket search?
The advanced search form, the one that I dropped into link is if you're really not sure what exactly is you're looking for, the bottom of that page will list all the different types of dockets or all the different types of forms you might want to search, whether it's an agenda, a calendar, a decision, a comment. So the other link that I dropped is if you're really you know the proceeding number, or you actually have a date and time parameter. So there's a bunch of different things you might be looking for. I think what the initial question is how do we follow a proceeding, or how do we follow a rulemaking? So I was trying to provide sort of both options. And, we can follow up if someone wants to follow up and email a question or email public advisor. There's ways to walk through exactly what it is you're going to be looking for, where you want to comment or participate.
Appreciate that, Maria. And I think we're now about out of time, so I'm going to hand it back over to Heather for her closing comments.
Thanks, Hope. Thank you to Hope, Nora, and Maria, and a special thanks to Casey. Casey, really, really much appreciation to you for sharing your knowledge and expertise with the audience, and I know they got a lot out of it. We hope this webinar helped you gain a better understanding of the Commission's decision-making and showed you your participation can be simple or more involved. It's completely up to you. The point is your participation matters. Next slide, please. Here are some of the ways you can get involved. Some of them we discussed during today's webinar. Next slide, please. And so we've added the links to many of the resources and tools we discussed today into this one pager for your convenience. Again, the webinar recording and the slide deck will be added to the CPUC informational webinars webpage in a couple of days. I know I loaded my presentation with lots of links. Casey shared lots of links too, so that's for your future reference. Next slide, please. So thank you for joining us. Check out our informational webinars webpage in a couple of days. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact your liaison or the public advisor's office. We're here to help you. Thanks again, and hope everyone has a great day.
Thank you.
Stop recording, please.